And we are live. This is the 1978 summer sprint from 2021 playoff stretch run broadcasts. Highly unscripted. No idea where it's going. Find out when we get there. The idea is to take a look at how we're doing so far. What's left? Who needs what the chances are. I just downloaded the league. It looks like it's not fully updated. My game with Dunedin didn't get in yesterday. So you might be a little bit behind, but we should get a pretty good idea. I know a bunch of games were played yesterday, though. At least that's what it seemed. Beyond the one that Dunedin and Rochester played. We don't get many game recaps for whatever reason. As you can see, I put them on there usually. It'd be great if we did see more. Honestly, we'd love to read about it. And we don't get too many in-season broadcasts, so let's see if this can fill a little bit of a gap. And we will take it. We'll take it from the bottom of the standings upwards. I think that's probably the best way to go. From what I can see here, only one team, no, two have been eliminated. That's Wisconsin and Ramstein. But everybody else still has a shot. So let's start with Maine. So Maine is now sitting at 0-3. So really just starting out. Long way to go. Points for, points against, but 37 to 90 obviously is not where Dan wants to be. But hey, super early for the Moose. Long way to go. Just getting to know his team. Let's dive into the stat line here. So Tarkenton has played somewhat poorly, not abysmal, but 63 rate, 2.6 interception percentage, very low yards per attempt, likely taking advantage of his flat pass. And let's see here. Greg Pruitt is second on the squad in carries. We'll come back to that. Overall yardage, well behind, almost half the yards of the opponent so far. Struggling in the running game with 3.3 yards per carry. So with such a long way to go, anything can happen for Maine. He's faced St. Pete so far, who is at 6-6, Jersey at 11-4, and Rochester showing 7-5 here, 8-5 in real life. So hasn't been the easiest of schedules so far for Maine. What's interesting, in my game with Maine a couple of days ago, Dan went away from Greg Pruitt. And my thought was, well, maybe he had a game where Pruitt gave up the ball with his high fumble rating and therefore got scared or, just decided to move a different direction. And I know I've thought about that with my guys who fumble a lot. So maybe he was thinking the same. But no, Pruitt hasn't fumbled yet. No fumbles. No fumbles lost at all for Maine so far in these three games that we're showing here. So that wasn't the reason. Pruitt's card, as we all know, is pretty powerful. Just take a look at that. Oops, wrong button. Stand by. Go. So looking at Pruitt's card, it's pretty powerful. Long gains on off tackle and end run, 57 and 70. It's and then the big gains on 4 on off tackle and run. That's as good as anybody in the set, if not better, because he has a 7 on short gain. Somebody like Campbell has the short gain on 6. Not many misses. 6, 7, 8 off tackle out wrong. I'll get decent yards. Plus the opportunities for the big ones. The fumbles are real. I think guessed wrong. Is it guessed wrong? He's at 68 out of 1,000. But I've been there this year. I'm sure many of you have been there this year, where your team seems down, not moving the ball, and you've just been very protective with it all along, and you just sort of say, well, screw it. I'm gonna put the risky guys in and see what happens. It's worked out a number of times, at least for the Jeffersons this year. At 0-3, Dan may be thinking the same. But anyway, a long way to go. Definitely not the stretch run yet for Maine. Wisconsin, sitting at 2-9, eliminated 172 for, 259 against. It's been a struggle. Let's take a look. The wins against Ramstein and Miami. Still has a number of games with playoff implications, including Dunedin, Seattle, and most of these have playoff implications. So still a lot to play for the league's sake for Butch. What has happened? Let's take a look here. Pastorini, who I would have liked to have had on my squad, he was picked quarterback who picked just ahead of the one that Rochester selected. Pastorini's had it rough. 4.7% interception percentage. And, that makes sense with Pete Johnson and OJ back there. He's probably facing a lot of guest right passing. And that would lead to that. Let's take a look here. Hold on a sec. Work is calling. Let's take a look at the Stratomatic report here. I'm curious what his guest pass. Yeah, 85% guessed right on passing. You do see 80s, sometimes low 80s typically. Get into the mid to high 80s, that is a bit unusual. So Pastorini's probably been facing just a ton of guess right calls. I mean, for example, on defense, 65, right? So Wisconsin guessing right at 65% of passes, where the defense is guessing right at 85. So that differential can easily lead to the interception total for Pastorini, make Pastorini look bad. I mean, that's the hidden value of not so hidden value of a good running back, is that your passers might be facing guess wrong a lot more than he otherwise would or did in real life. So that is likely a big cause for the problems here. As you can see, interceptions 17-5, and about even on fumbles. That can turn around your season right there. Sacks close enough. That interception number is what immediately sticks out. Pete Johnson's run well, 4.4 carry. Guessing a lot of guess wrong running for him. Hit as long as 50. Don Bass, 42 catches. South Florida Cobra Kai, 1-4 on the season. The win has come against Wisconsin, the aforementioned Wisconsin squad. So work cut out for South Florida here, but certainly plenty of time to make it back. Let's dive in. So Pat Hayden, I believe the last quarterback taken, has a 47.5 rating. So he is struggling a bit. The running game seems to be working pretty well, with Pruitt and Miller both chugging along with 4.7 averages. This opponent's success on fourth down, 63% versus 38, is a pretty big differential, and that can make the difference in some wins, in some losses. Overall yards minus 400, which would make sense with the current record. Really good wide receivers here, but you can see Lynn Swann has only gone for a long of 17 so far. Longest on the squad is Stallworth, 41, and he's had 21 catches and 18 receptions as well. Already picked up a kickoff return for a touchdown from Larry Anderson. Turnover rate. The Cobra Kai are, looks like they're plus. Yeah, so we've got, no, they're not plus, sorry. It's 8 to negative 3, 8 to 11, which makes more sense with the record. But definitely not a stretch run situation here for South Florida. Not much to analyze, so much can happen pretty early on. Rams tied 3-10. The only other eliminated squad so far. First, they came with a win over Georgia, who sits at 5-4. A win against Rochester, who sits at 8-5. And third win is against Miami. So, a couple of good wins in the mix for Rams time in the season. Jim Hart, great passer, 61 rating on a 44% completion percentage. So, probably another squad that faced a lot of guest right passing. With Andy Johnson and Kevin Long in the backfield, Horace Ivory as well. Certainly not poor runners by any stretch, but if you look at Jim Hart's card, it's going to command a good amount of pass calls. Let's take a look at the Stratomatic report. Yeah, 82, so just a shade below what Wisconsin has been facing. And you can see it's compared to a 71 on defense. So, the ability to mix run and pass effectively is so important. That battery of quarterback and halfback, and will defense is respected or not. Some of us who have inferior backs, I've had it before, we've all had it before, work really hard to establish a running game, to draw just a few precious run calls, to be able to get some guest run passing going. But that's on a curve. It depends how good those backs are, no matter how hard you try to establish it. Miami, 3-7, sitting on the edge of elimination. Need to reel off 6 wins. Let's take a look at the remaining schedule. Erie, 500 ball club. Orange County, also a 500 ball club. Draycott, top of the standings at 7-1. Rochester, 8-5. Vegas, now at 3-3. And then Maine. So, no matter what, 6 wins in a row is a daunting task. But already faced Jersey, already faced Seattle, already faced Pittsburgh. So already faced 3 of the top 4 in the standings. So there's an opening here for Willie for sure. Let's take a look at Brian Sipe and how he's done. He's a curious case. 3% interceptions, not the worst in the league, but how's he done on fumbles? Yeah, 6 fumbles lost. And that's his primary weakness. So 6 fumbles lost in 10 games, 13 overall fumbles in 10 games. The turnover ratio, -6 on fumbles and -5 on INTs, so -11 total. That obviously has to turn around. Third down performance of just 20%. That's probably toward the bottom of the league, if I had to guess. Obviously, there's plenty of pieces here. Joe Washington, Leroy Harris. I don't know their cards all that well. Let's take a look at this strat report too. Curious what Willie's facing in terms of defensive calls. 76%, so get a bit more respect for the run game. 74, so just about even both ways. That's a tough road. Tough road. Would love to see it. Love to see a 6-game winning streak. That drama can be fun to watch. I'd love to see Willie pull it off. He's got to have those 6 games in the next few weeks here. So should be a busy few weeks. Let's see if Miami can put together the winning streak. Dunedin, actually at 3-5 now, as opposed to the 3-4 that you're seeing here. He's a tough squad. Really tough squad. Just faced him yesterday. This team has definitely the makeup for a playoff run. Bob Greasy, 8 picks and a 4.4 INT percentage is obviously underperforming so far. He has a fantastic heart, in my view. First round pick, 50.2 rating. You got to assume that's going to come up. And it's not one of those teams that doesn't have good runners. Calhoun, Harper can definitely command some run calls. Cunningham supplements them as well. Good right running. Let's take a look. At the Dunedin squad. Here's Greasy's card, first and foremost. Love that flat pass. One of the best flat passes in the game this year. A 7 on short pass, double teamed. Love that. Long pass. Not good, but not bad. Obviously, a lot of us rely on the defensive card and receiver readings for the long pass anyway. Not going to hurt you too bad with any crazy interceptions. Snake eyes and a 227 on 11. Guessed right. So you can throw long pass with confidence. So he's got it all. There's really nothing wrong with that card at all. I think most of us would love to have that as our quarterback card. Now the runners, lesser known, but strong. Here is Calhoun. Nice card. That off tackle with a plus 73 gives him a vehicle to use toward halftime. Another 2 minutes to try to hit some short gains, or the big one for 73. Even better. Harper, full of short gains wrong, all over the place on off tackle and end run. So 4, 7, 10, 12, all hits for over 10 yards. On the off tackle wrong, on the end run wrong. 4, 6, 8, 10, of course 12. No big gainers there, but oh yeah. I mean, second and long on defense, you're thinking, maybe I'm a culprit this time. So that gives Greasy some opportunities. And the receivers, like most in this set, they can generate some good long gains when guessed wrong. And here's Frank Lewis, plenty. So Dunedin, to me, has an above 50% chance to get into the playoffs here. The team is just very that strong on offense. It can move the ball, and that's the premium. Can you move the ball or not? That's something Draycott capitalized. So they're going to be one of the few that can reliably move the ball, and you can see the result for the record. The weakness for Dunedin, like Draycott, is the defensive average. And yeah, I mean, that's going to cost you a number of first downs a game as your opponent's rushes are going to get that extra yard or two per play versus a good or excellent D. And that certainly hurts. But when you have the ability to move the ball and mix run pass like Dunedin does, that tends to, at least in this 78 set, overshadow that defensive shortcoming. And I guess we don't have the box score for the Rochester game in here anymore. But you may have seen from the game recap, my squad Rochester hit all the rolls, and we got three very unlikely fumbles from Dunedin. Earl Campbell was hitting his big runs left and right. Didn't matter. Dunedin was able to move the ball consistently for long drives again and again and again, and hung right in there. Outgained Rochester, ended up with the loss. Could have easily pulled off the win without any difficulty. This team has enough to get there for sure. Playoff quality team. St. Pete 6-6. Don't believe I've faced them yet, or have I? Did I? It's been a while. Let's see. It was one of the early games. Yeah, that's why I forgot it. Let's see. Oh yeah. All right. Rochester to pull off that one. 6-6. Games left against South Florida, sitting at 1-4. Georgia, 5-4. Orange County, 2-2. And Las Vegas, 3-3. So none of the top 6 are left on the schedule for St. Pete. All those are off the schedule. So there's definitely a pathway here for the Seacats. Obviously, at 500, plenty of opportunity. Archie Manning, 11 TDs, 11 interceptions. Why? What's up with Archie? Well, let's take a look at Harper here. Harper 202 for 979, a very respectable number. That all-important Stratomatic report can tell a story. Yeah, up over 80%. It's not abnormal. That's on the higher end, though. 81% guessed right passing to 76 on the opponents. Overall, just the overall guessing situation has been a negative for St. Pete, down 7 points, 57 to 50, and that can easily turn around. And facing these and avoiding the top 6, St. Pete is in pretty good shape. OC, very early on here, has beat a tough Jersey squad, 14-10. Beat Seattle, 24-23. Losses to Erie and to Draycott in a close one, 37-31. What happened there? Let's see here. Jones ran it in, 7:30 left in overtime for the win. So took him to OT. Deep into OT, halfway through the quarter. And lost it. Outgained in that game by 130 yards. Jones did his thing for Draycott. Bradshaw sort of sputtered along. Cooper Montgomery did his thing, 20 for 111. So Bradshaw-Montgomery battery is a real good one for OC. Take a look at the D. Good against the run, passes average. Paid a price for having as good as battery as he has with Bradshaw-Montgomery. Montgomery averaging 5.3 a carry, hasn't hit one long yet, 25 is long. Bradshaw, 7 TDs to 4 INTs, 70 rating, not so bad. Looks like a 2-2 team. Let's see overall yards. Minus about 300. And turnover ratio, +3 on the fumbles. And let's see, +2 on the INT. So he's sitting in the plus territory on turnovers, which is nice if you can hold that ratio. So still plenty of time for OC. Also true for Las Vegas, plenty of time. 3-3. Just really started playing recently. Beat Butch in Wisconsin, 31-11. Lost to Erie in Jersey, in Georgia. And then defeated Seattle and Ramsden. So has already faced the tough Jersey squad, already faced the Seattle squad. Still has Draycott on the schedule. Still has Pittsburgh on the schedule. Still has Rochester on the schedule. So a number of tough games left. Really, right in the middle of the road schedule at 3-3. Obviously, some really important games coming up among this group of 500 squads. One of them being this Vegas squad versus Dunedin. Another one being this Vegas squad versus OC. Also is yet to face Philadelphia. So a lot to sort out here still. Speaking of Philadelphia, 6-5. They sit right above Erie's 4-4. Let's go to Erie first. Erie has 8 games under its belt. Barkowski not doing bad with a 62 rating and 3.4 intercept. Sims and the Giants backs here, combining for over 1,000 yards already. Definitely run-heavy squad. 246 carries between those two versus 149 attempts for Barkowski. So emphasizing the run, out-rushing his opponents, but overall not outgaining them. Spreading out the balls. The receiving core, your Prenum, is at 90% field goals, so getting his value out of that early round pick, at 20 for 22. Really nice there. It's check the D. Good. So it has that firepower as well. It's going to come down to Barkowski. When you need that drive, when it's all said and done, you need that drive. Can Barkowski put it together or not? If you have to mix in a run, is there enough time left in that game to pull out the wins that you need to pull out? Barkowski got 7 long gain wrong right there, which is helpful. Very low INTs comparatively versus others in the set. Obviously not one of the better cards, taken later. With plenty of blanks, guessed right. But he's probably not gonna throw a pick on that last drive. At least the odds are against it. So Erie right in the mix. Only 8 games under its belt. Now Philadelphia with 11. They're entering the stretch here. Sort of what this broadcast was meant for. But let's take a deeper look here. What's left for Philly? South Florida. Winnable game. Maine. It's early for Maine, but we call that a winnable game as well. Las Vegas is a 500 squad. Toss-up. Orange County. 500 squad. Good squad. Toss-up. Erie. Good squad. Toss-up. So, some really good grudge matches left here for Philly down the stretch. This is the team led by Dan Fouts. Yep, it is. Fouts has been... keeps his interceptions under 4%, which in this set is, mediocre, which is about 3.9. He has fumbled the ball and lost it 3 times. Nobody else has fumbled. Been relying heavily on Delvin Williams. I think leads the league, and we'll take a look at the league leader shortly. I think he leads the league in rushes, and I think in rushing yards as well. So Miami's Delvin Williams, 281, 1462, 9 scores, using them all over the field. He has not been a force out of the backfield. Catching the ball, of course, just 6 catches there. Only 36 for Largent so far. A few games that I've seen from Philly, he's been throwing to Largent a lot. I think Largent's been drawing a lot of double teams as well. A whopping 20.6 average for Stevie Largent. Total yards, he's up a couple hundred. Third downs don't look abnormal. Fourth downs about even. Turnover ratio +3 on the fumbles and -7 on the interceptions. So while Fouts' 13 picks aren't good, they're not awful. But what Philly be looking for is more picks themselves. Just 6 so far. Let's take a look at Stratomatic report here. %78 of the passes guessed right. So let's take a look at the double teaming defensively. Hitting 13%, so 3 percentage points behind the opponent there, and that can lead to lower interceptions if you're behind on that stat. Guessed right passing, 72, which is kind of low, which can also lead to lower INTs. given up 9 sacks, sacked the opponent 34 times. A big advantage there. And it's crunch time for Philly. Crunch time for Philly and some pretty interesting games coming up. Got to keep an eye on that Erie game, the Orange County game, that Las Vegas game. Those may make or break everyone's playoff futures among that bunch. Georgia 5-4, just 9 games under Georgia's belt. Let's see here. Georgia has Maine left, Pittsburgh, Erie, OC, Needham, Draycott, and St. Pete. So not the easiest of schedules lies ahead for Georgia. Very impressive, 261 to 190.4 points against ratio. Craig Morton, he hold on to the ball nicely. He's been doing it, except he's been fumbling a little bit more than you might like. He has a sack fumble rating that's kind of high, but his snap fumble rating is good. And his INTs are certainly low, down at 1.4%. 15 TDs to 3 INTs. So that stands out as a good performance so far for Morton. Walter Payton, long of just 24 for Payton. So he's going to hit his big gainer sooner or later here. But you might assume he's facing an elevated run dynamic, maybe. It's interesting because neither Morton nor Payton are big movers of the ball for huge chunks. They are move the chain sort of guys. Let's take a look here. Georgia's offense has just been guessed right on passes 65% of the time. So he's got plenty of guess wrong opportunities for Morton. Interestingly, pretty close on D, 67, huh? So call and run with a good amount, so you can guess him 39% of his runs correctly. The opponent's just guessing 33% of Payton's runs correctly. Sacks down 16-12. That's it. So Georgia's in the dogfight. Rochester now at 8-5, needs 1 win in his last 3. Faces a tough Las Vegas squad, a tough Orange County squad, and a tough Miami squad. Based on the records, Miami is the opportunity. Miami's desperate. Still very much in the hunt. Needs to pull off a series of wins. So all these games are tough. Definitely possible to drop 3 in a row for Rochester and find themselves on the outside looking in. Take a look at the Jeffs here. Obviously, a team I know well. So Greg Landry doing well, avoiding picks with just 3 and a 1.2 interception percentage and an 80 rating is good. Obviously, Landry's benefiting just greatly from a lot of guest run calling on trying to catch Earl Campbell guest right, and that has been to Landry's benefit, and really what's really helped generate this line. 63% completion percentage is good. Just 5 TDs though. Been relying mostly on the running game to push it in. That's because usually Landry comes out of the game inside the 10, and Danielson comes in with the better short passing card. Total yards, about even. Rushing yards, about even. Passing yards, about even. So we're playing it pretty even, despite the 8-5 record. So where the wins come from? Well, let's see. Check out the turnovers here. +4 in INTs, but -5 in fumbles. So negative fumble rating. Negative turnover ratio. Not much different in third down percentage. Winning on 4th downs. So, these wins have been coming primarily thanks to some big gains from Campbell lately. That's Campbell's finally warmed up. He started really slow, fumbling the ball a lot, and he's come back now these last few games and carried Rochester to wins. Let's take a look at the Stratomatic report for Rochester. Just 31% of runs, and just 70% of passes guessed right, 52% overall. So that just that sort of speaks to Campbell, I think, right there more than anything else. That just drawing that 52% is a pretty good number for Rochester. Guessing right, so a 5-point advantage, guessing right 57% of the time, and that's really thanks to Campbell. Passes guessed right 86%, pretty high number there, but runs down below 30 at 28. It's such a high pass number. Likely giving up something on a run, and that's exactly what's happening. Sacks, only given up 7, but has sacked the opponent 21 times, so there's a big advantage for Rochester, giving the quarterback at a 34% clip, 21 times, versus 21%, which is a 7% clip for the opponent. And and that comes not only from just some fortunate rolls on defense for Rochester, but also the fact that Greg Lange is usually flat passing and avoiding sack situations. So Rochester needs one more win. Steelers 6-3 in really good shape here as we get to the top of the league. Needs 3 wins in these last 6 games. So goes 500 and he's in. Face Las Vegas. Needs to face Georgia, OC, South Florida, Erie, Maine, and Draycott. So not a guaranteed route here. A good mix of the higher and lower parts of the standing sheet are in Pittsburgh's future schedule here. Very impressive, 191 to 115 points, 4 points against. How have things gone for the Steelers? Well, Jimmy Zorn at 68.7, down below 50% completion. Probably wants that to be up a little bit. The running game, well, Van Egan's getting 5 yards carry. If I had to bet here, I'd say that well over 80% in guess right passing. Let's see if we'll come back to this. Let's see if that is correct. Pittsburgh Stratomatic report. Guess right passing, yeah, it's up at 85. Those runners not commanding much respect from the defenses. Overall guess rate percentage of 64 versus 57. So it's -7 there, but that hasn't affected things all that much. Obviously, with a 191, 115 points, 4 points against the average, a lot's going right so far for Pittsburgh. You see a plus 600 despite that guess wrong right discrepancy, plus 600 in yards. Turnover ratio, +4 in INTs, -1 in fumbles, so +3. Matt Moore doing really well, averaging 19.5 per catch on 34 catches. That's pretty impressive. Kicking game has been pretty mint so far, except for extra points. No kickoff or punt returns or interception returns for touchdowns. So not scoring that way either. Really crushing the opponent on third down. 37% to 22%. Fourth down as well, 50% to 29%. So winning those thirds and fourths, those key plays, looks like has unlocked a 6-3 record for Pittsburgh. In terms of sacks, getting out-sacked 26-6. So taking on the chin there. But winning the thirds and fourths has made all the difference for Pittsburgh. So pulling off a 6-3 record and an amazing points for points against ratio. Stats aren't quite what you'd expect for that record and that point ratio. See a 40-0 win versus Dunedin, 24-0 win against Miami. So that plus 64 right there contributes significantly to that points for points against. Wins over both squads and also St. Pete, Wisconsin, Hamstein, and Rochester, 17-3. Going to be an interesting run. It's not necessarily an easy road for Pittsburgh. 6-3 in great position, should be able to get there. But like many of the teams below them, wouldn't project yet a playoff spot. Seattle, 8-3, still has Draycott in the schedule, still has Erie, still has Wisconsin, still has Maine, and South Florida. So with Wisconsin, South Florida, and Maine, which are currently a combined 3-16, I think we can project that Seattle will make the playoffs. Right now, sitting 293 and 217. Let's see how that Seattle running game's doing so far. Pretty well, both at 5.5 a carry. McKnight and Reed. So everything going to plan there. Not as many fumbles as they could have, which helps as well. Staubach fumbling a bit for some excellent, just really excellent turnover numbers. His 3 fumbles lost, a total of 4 is higher than you would expect. 15 TDs to 5 INTs, and just a stellar 88 passer rating on a 7.8 yards per attempt contributes to that. The completion percentage is 46.8. So bombs away for Roger. And you can see that reflected in the receiver stats here with average catch for Wesley Walker and his 28 catches of 21.2. Average per catch for Gaffney, 23.6. And Reed and Cunningham up at that level too, 14, 13, is also pretty impressive. So all that yards per attempt, all that QB rating is reflected right there in those receiver stats. Plus about 300 in yards right now. Turnovers, plus 2 on the fumbles, and plus 9 on the INTs. So getting a lot of picks, 14 versus the 5 given up, has been a big help for Seattle. Sacks, about even. Seattle has an average B, and that has not seemingly hurt Seattle yet. And they are in pretty good shape here. Project them to be in the playoffs. And I mean, really, the next 2, obviously, Jersey's already in. Draycott we projected as well. So that means we just have 3 squads that we think can pretty much punch their ticket at this point. Jersey 11-4. It's had a very good campaign so far. 324 to 219 points, 4 points against, which is great. Plus about 500 in yards. They are plus 5 a turnover ratio. Jaws. 11 TDs, 11 interceptions, not spectacular. Under 50% completion. 6.5 yards per attempt. Ron Jesse's been a big part of that. 37 catches. 691 yards and that big average of 18.7. And Willie Miller, 29 catches for 616, 21.2 average. Sherman Smith, really the key, I would say, to this offense and facing this team. Sherman Smith is probably everybody's target for halfback, and it's who you'd want to end up with if you could get him in the mid rounds, and that's what Jersey did. So I think the ideal when you wait for WEIGHT, when you wait for where you can get them in the draft, Seattle to me is the best value pick by far, and that's paying off. 228 for 1174 for Sherman Smith, 5.1 average. He's hit some long ones too. 6 scores. Larry Canada right behind him with a 4.4 average, 7 scores. They haven't been fumbling too much. Sherm has just a slightly elevated fumble. Nothing too much to worry about. That's shown up so far. Curious how teams have called Jersey so far. %, versus 54, so about even, -2. 73% of passes, 40% of runs. So Sherman Smith has been and company have garnered plenty of respect, and that's freed up Jaws to do some damage in the air long. Interesting. So take a look at Seattle's too. Just go back on that. I assume Seattle's getting all sorts of guest run calls. Yeah, 41% guessed right. Only 60% of passes has unleashed Scott Staubach for those long gainers. So Staubach may not have a card that's made for long gains, at least this set, but the receivers should do. So when you unleash those receiver cards guessed wrong, you can get some big gains, and that's what Seattle and Jersey has benefited from so far. So in the competition for #1 seed, these 3-loss squads, Steelers, Seattle, looking up at Draycott. Draycott still has a ways to go. Jersey with 11-4 record, probably the odds-on favorite for the #1 seed right now, all things being equal, given the long road for Draycott, but it's tight between Draycott and Jersey for the #1 seed, and Seattle could sneak in easily as well. So Draycott 188, 151, sitting with the best record in the league currently at 7-1. Everyone saw how Michael went offense in the draft, and it's paying off so far. An incredible 109 rating for Burt Jones. 70% completion. Big chunks of yards at 7.3. 12 TDs to 1 INT. Just mint. So that first round pick of Burt Jones paying off. Tony D and John Riggins are the 1-2 punch in the backfield. Working out so far. 5.1 for Dorsett, 5.0 for Riggins. Dorsett reeling off some big runs. His 7 fumbles have shown up, and he's just lost 3. So, it's not good, but kind of where you'd expect Dorsett to be at this point. So he's fumbled on 7% of his carries, so I guess it's a little bit more fumbles than you'd like to see at this point. Down receiving, let's see, 3 guys at 30 and above. Tony Hill and Drew Pearson leading the way. Really, Tony Hill, 41 for 494, has emerged as the leader. Draycott crushing it on 3rd down, 45% to 28. Draycott works hard to establish the run. Really, with this offense, you can do whatever you like. Let's take a look at the Stratmatic report. %. So doing a great job calling the offense, only getting guessed right 53% of the time versus 56, so +3 there. Both these numbers, the run's a little bit elevated, freeing up Burt Jones. Freeing up Burt Jones to do damage, and boy, can he do damage. Draycott has the average D, but as I said before, really not hurting him. In the middle of a tough game where the opponent has time to mix run and pass, that might catch up with them at some point. But if there's any time left on the clock, as I learned, Draycott can come back and just move the ball right down the field and get the touchdown when they need to. And that's what happened in the game versus Rochester here in 1914 when 30 seconds left. Dennison took it in, and what it must have been a 90-plus yard drive, eating up the entirety of the game, mixing Tony Dorsett and runs with short passes from Jones, You've got to guess right, or you're in deep trouble. And even if you do guess right, you're still in trouble against this offensive squad. So that wraps it up. That's what we're looking at down the stretch. Some really interesting games coming up, especially in this pack, in this middle of the pack here. I think from Pittsburgh, right on down, Rochester, Georgia, Philly, Erie, Vegas, OC, such a long way to go. St. Pete is in the crunch time right now. Look for St. Pete games out there. Dunedin still has right in that middle pack. There's a lot of excitement. Let's see if Willie can put some wins together and make for an exciting run here as well. So thanks for tuning in. Hope it was enjoyable. See you on Slack.